having something tangible to grab onto with this, I'm not seeing anything that I can work with here. But I agree with the idea. It'd be concerning if Steven was just like telling me like, "Oh yeah, I love making women seem like they're fucking crazy in front of a bunch of people." Be like, yeah, it's pretty
Sure.
fucking weird, dude.
Is the idea
Well, the
that
thing is, as well, is I've got stories from my past where I treated women terribly,
Yep.
and I might tell them or talk about them, and I might not make it clear necessarily. This was very bad, guys. This was a bad thing to do.
responsible to my, like,
I
the
might
great
tell it. I might
separation?
tell it as in like, do you know what I did one time? I fucking fucked this woman over rotten, and you know, it's not because I'm saying, oh yeah, it's good and I do it again. It's just it's kind of a funny story,
Okay,
and,
so-
and in that the comedy comes from the fact that yes,
And
I
guess
absolutely
the evil
fucked with a
thing
woman
is
that
just,
time,
like, it's a
but I've
necessary
moved a
evil
long
to
way
do it,
since
so
then.
you're just
You know,
giving
when I
him what
look
he
back
wants in
and
a sort of way.
does
Also,
that make sense? I don't know. Maybe it was that. I don't know.
no. Also, to your previous point, a little bit earlier in this conversation, you also got to remember this is in private, and when you're having these things in private, right? You're not concerned with, okay, but just so we're clear that whatever shit, you can leave a lot more hanging and stuff like that because it's a lot more of a casual conversation, like you said earlier, where you're not super concerned with, well, let's be certain that every single person involved and there is no misconceptions or whatever. You're just kind of riffing off. So when you say stuff like, for instance, yeah, I did this chick rotten, dude. This is kind of funny. Like the joke is like that it kind of wasn't funny or whatever, and it's kind of like you grew from it and whatever. So there's a lot more sub context that can be added that maybe didn't get read into, especially. I hate to do this. I really do hate to do this, but especially by somebody that earlier in this very document admitted that they don't know how to read personal social situations very well. So, I don't know. It's not right now. We have an individual that made a document saying like, oh yeah, these social dynamics between people are fucking weird. It's caused me a lot of pain in my life, but also rely on my testimony for these social situations as to whether or not this guy is like a serial sexual abuser. And it becomes difficult to be able to understand exactly like where we should be extending the credibility without hard evidence. If we had hard evidence, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing to
Stuff.
point out too is obviously this happened before we even started streaming, right? So, in order for this to really significantly influence our analysis on his current behaviour, we would need to assume that this story is indicative of like how he would behave today, and he's had no
Yeah.
personal growth over the last 10 years. And for me, as someone who's a similar age to Stephen, in my early 20s, I was terrible to women. So like, I would not act now the way I did 10 years
Was.
ago with women.
I think I
But
need
yeah,
just a
I
little
think
bit
I've
more
had a lot of
speed
personal
on my
growth and
internet.
development since then, and I'm sure Stephen has too. So I
But-
mean, I don't know if it's really valid to use this to analyze his current behaviour personally.
Yep.
Okay. So
I agree.
sorry. Okay, cool. So let's keep going. When we hung out, I asked him about Anna and Cherry. He'd repeat the usual. They're psycho. I love toxic women. It's exciting. It's good content. I think I scoffed. He tells me Anna was a stalker, but he's over it, again because he's a sociopath and he doesn't care much. That's the thing. Stephen is so charming, he could be saying literally anything and you feel like you're in on it. I thought, yeah, she's psycho, I'm different. He frequently repeated, we'll see how you'll turn out, like he either expected me to be psychotic, he was hoping I'd be, or I'd have to prove myself that I wasn't. I chose the last one. Didn't pan out, I guess, not the way he sees it. I didn't know they'd been sexting. If I'd have known, I wouldn't have continued to hang out with him because that's abusive, and I don't have sexual relationships with abusive men. So, here's the problem with this. She's making a lot of, like, conclusions off the back of what she's seeing, right? Like, she's saying things like, he's a sociopath, like, he was expecting me to be psychotic, he was hoping I'd be, or I'd have to prove that I wasn't. These are all like pretty big extrapolations off of quite, in my opinion, limited information, which is obviously going to be influenced by her perception of Stephen based on her previous conversations. But the fact that it seems like now she's coming out and saying this, especially
Yeah.
after Destiny has cut off ties and she's had a couple of embarrassing like moments, like I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to call it how I see it. Some of this seems a bit like a scorned woman. Listen.
Yes.
That's
So
my
this is
perspective.
usually why I suggested people, if you're going to do something like, you need hard evidence, something tangible. Because
Oh, I did. I
otherwise
saved.
it will
I just need
always
to go
come
get my
down
fist
to
and Paul again.
character assessment. So, like she was saying previously inside of the document, that there was, she's being analyzed from all these angles. This is going to necessarily happen because we have no other options unless our options are don't even look into this at all, which I don't consider a real option, or and don't consider it at all, or try our best to be able to piece together all of the
Wait.
information that we have available to us to try and make as holistic of a picture as possible while doing right by the gravity of the claims. And the issue is the gravity of the claims are so incredibly steep with very, very little to non-existent evidence outside of just character testimony, that it pretty much is just like, okay, well, now Lab's character is on trial. Like you said, timing is important to this. The current context of their relationship is important to this. All of these things need to be looked at. This is why having
much
that
wood
hard
do I
evidence,
need?
or even some kind of soft evidence, is really,
Therapy
really
slowed.
important.
We're
to
gonna
be able
start that process.
to try and give me anything I can work with to try and
There's definitely
get on
a
Lab's
fair bit of latency
side,
between.
but I'm just not seeing. Maybe there's some screenshots or something later inside of the thing. I have no idea.
I mean,
also,
maybe.
I'll TM you something.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that kind of covers it, and I think that one thing that frustrates me is this idea that I'm just covering for Stephen because I'm covering for Stephen.
Right.
I'm not covering for Stephen in saying I want to see evidence. This is how I operate in every single fucking drama I've ever commented on. Show me the fucking money. What can you prove to me? Right? I'm not going to make out on the
I
limb
said
claims
go by the
about anyone
store.
unless I can prove it. If there was a rumor going round that well, maybe we shouldn't use a sound because of the current thing. If there is a rumor going round that Vosh was out there sexually abusing
Wait, what
women,
current thing?
well, no, the current thing we're going to get to in the document.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Okay. But yeah, if there's a rumor going around that Vosh is a sexual abuser, I'm not going to come on stream, even though it would probably be in my benefit to do so, because of my, somewhat association, I guess, now with Destiny, to repeat those claims and stuff like that. Because guess what? If I came on stream and I made claims about Vosh that weren't substantiated, and I couldn't substantiate, I would get eaten alive by DG fucking
As you
G.
should.
As I
you
should. By DGG, they would come on and they would go, "Come on, Chud, you can't prove this. This is wrong. I don't like Bosch, but da 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 da." Like, it's not about the fucking personalities. Yes, there is I have a bias, obviously, because of my closeness, and there's a crossover. But there's also a bias for the truth and not wanting to say things that I can't prove or substantiate on stream. Okay.
And at the very least, the idea that that tool might be eventually weaponized against you with no evidence, right? The H3H3 route of oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm
this guy
hungry as
should
hell.
be,
I want to go give me something to eat in a minute.
banned for X, Y, and Z, and then you do it yourself later, and then you realize you're left holding the bag because you said that somebody should be banned for doing something with very little to no evidence that you yourself was accused of doing later. Setting the precedent of having significant evidence is necessary. But I don't think me or Chud are saying, my Discord audience, are saying that the perception, the optics are not lost on us. I am perfectly fine with somebody looking at me covering this and very critically going, is this guy just simping for Destiny? You should do that, right? I have an incentive to do that. There is an incentive to do that. So be critical of my analysis of this and give me anything material that you think that I'm being too charitable towards Destiny with, and I'll engage with it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, and this is the frustration that I have, is when someone criticizes me, they don't say, "No, Chud, you're missing this piece of evidence that proves this." They just go, "You're a Destiny simp, you're a Destiny..." Exactly like fucking Leftoids do. You're a Destiny orbiter, and that's why you're saying these things, It is a
Yeah.
literal fucking ad hominem shit, right? Where it's
Yeah.
you are this thing, therefore your analysis is invalid. Like, no, point to me where the analysis is invalid. What am I missing? What am I fucking missing? In all this drama, right? I've probably seen about 8 or 9 screenshots of DMs. That's all the evidence I've seen of everything.
Correct. Yeah. Same.
Everything else is just fucking speculation and testimony and he said, she said. It's fucking impossible. Sorry, to go off on one. But let's continue.
Yep.
Okay. Fast forward. I reached out to Anna almost a week ago. I'm feeling low because DGG hates me and they're following me across platforms.
Already went down to the beach, homie.
I'm starting to feel weird that Stephen gaslit me and uploaded the video of me crying
I wonder-
on YouTube. And she very willingly tells me they still have a sexual relationship. That's when I decided I'd never stream with him again.
We
Anna
had a
tells me
conversation.
Honda, he likes to watch me embarrass
He said,
myself.
no matter how this
I
goes,
remember
somebody's
the
being
Watch
victimized.
story, the big secret. I remember the way I found out who he
I like
was.
Destiny.
Because
Destiny's
Anna
my
streamed
favorite
daily
streamer. I'm gonna
on
be
YouTube.
honest. You call me
He
simping or
does.
whatever.
He likes this. And it's
But,
when I went on stream to say he was
If we're
awful
wrong,
aggressive,
and
I didn't have the
the,
balls
some
to
of the stuff
voice
did
it
happen,
with
then
my
like
full
yeah,
chest.
you can definitely say there's
Power
definitely some
dynamic
mind
and
fuck
lack of
going on
care
right
he had
now.
for my well-being was uncomfortable enough to not stream with her anymore. Something I thought would be a relief to his feelings.
And one thing that Destiny has said
My
in the
being
past
was met with disdain.
is that,
People jumping down
and I
my
think he was
throats
referring to
saying
Max
I
at the
was
time, that if you're
awful.
smart enough,
Very
you
few
can pretty
people
much
question
do
my
whatever you
mindset.
want and then
The thing
justify
impressed
it
me about
after the
power
fact.
structure I felt I
Like you
had.
can come up with a
Where he
rationale to
uses all of his
justify it and
content,
convince
even
people
the
to
stuff I
that
control and not
either
control
it didn't
the
happen the way
narrative
it
I could have easily control.
appears,
Or at the very
or
least told his community to stop mass linking pictures of me without
it's
me.
always the thing. It's like
I
I
got
think he's
amazing
capable
views,
a lot. I don't know
1600
what
on
he's
my
done.
stream,
I like
but I
Destiny.
stopped talking about it at 400. I didn't know the can of worms I was opening.
I don't know him
didn't
personally,
understand
so
the
it's
culture of DGG. I thought I'd had an idea, but this was big. Then Stephen went on stream and called Max a rapist, and hurled that he was the most manipulative person he'd ever met, and I was just his next victim. So, let's just cover that now, I guess.
Okay. Something I want to cover kind of first because I had an issue with it. What do you think about Steven saying Max is a rapist? What is your opinion on that?
Okay, I think that is insane to me. I watched Supreme sort of address Destiny with this point, and obviously DGG were going, oh, but he said he's a rapist. My analysis has not changed since I first heard about that. My understanding of Mr. Girl's point is that consent is complicated, and by all accounts what he did was rape, and what that actually suggests is that maybe calling things rape, or having rape as the word we use to describe these situations, isn't necessarily good because of what an emotive word it is. And there are absolutely times when you're with a woman and you don't get clear explicit consent, and that can even be shady.
yes.
It could even be that you act in a way that someone else might look at and say, you didn't get explicit consent.
Listen,
that was wrong."
well,
Okay.
but there's okay. So
That is
listen, I agree that that his video was interesting and that it did go into the degrees of nuance, and I think it moves even beyond the level of nuance that you're saying there. But again, the highly fucking problematic, dangerous, risky, like it's a bad idea to take the course of action he did, because 9 out of 10 times it could end up with a rape charge. Maybe it's not that high, but the point being is that not only did he not get clear and vocalized consent, which you can say is cringe, you can say it's a good idea, wherever you fall on that, he got vocalized resistance, vocalized objection, and proceeded. That's where it moves into the realm of, hey, hold up a minute. I need to cut some trees before I save and go to bed. I need 300 pieces of wood, I think it was. I'm at almost 50. I'm so damn hungry, I ain't even gonna lie.
is my perspective on it.
I haven't ate breakfast
I
yet.
think that Destiny is just going nuclear, and he's like, he's changed his position on it because of some analysis of removing charitability or something. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
I mean,
But
he's
I
done
get
the
that
same
very
thing
well
with
personally.
Voss and
Yeah,
and
I would agree with you. I don't
Hassan,
know
where it's
why
like, if you push me far
his
enough,
opinion,
I'm
why
gonna.
he said it, where it came from, if it was just because of a heated moment, maybe he saw something or whatever. But I reject the idea that Destiny actually does believe.
Because he went and said, when he said Voss was a pedophile, it was like the same
From
rationale.
state,
He's like,
that
he got asked about it later. He's like, truthfully, I don't think he's a pedophile, but
he might say say that
I'm
he's
removing all
raped by
charitability because
our
the way
current
his accents.
understanding
I don't
of
remember the
sexual
exact drama or the
morality.
details. It's been a while.
Something the same. By our current societal definitions, it would be rape. But based on all of the nuanced understanding that I've seen
Don't pass
Stephen
out.
put into his
Okay,
analysis
that's all I'm
of
gonna do.
sexual interactions, I don't think there's any way he would sit down, have a calm, reasonable conversation, and then say, "Yeah, that person's a rapist." So I think when he said that, I think it was out of pocket. I think it was out of line, and yeah, I think it was inappropriate.
Sure. Yeah. I think the problem is as well is that my perception of that is that Destiny is obviously like really
Yeah.
fucking pissed off with Max and is therefore like
Yeah.
removing some level of.
Definitely. I don't think my streams have been consistent with quality of hosting. Yeah, we bought blackout curtains for this house. I just said blackout curtains, and my girl went and got some. I don't think she realized I meant like 100% blackout. Like I want to be able to control all the lights. So I need to replace that one. This one I think I got, and it is like 100% blackout. The one in the living room, I think I picked out and got 100%. But we need some for the door itself as well. Okay, it's raining in Stardew. I was like, I hear rain. Just a little bit. I wonder what focal length this is at, because if this is... Let's see what 50 would look like. It's going to be way too tight, I believe. Yeah, this is like zoomed in on my face. If it was... if there was a better way, I would run a different lens, because I would like the more bokeh in the background. Gotta get that buttery bokeh effect.